All right, that rock and roll of an intro kicks us off into a great series. This is a TVT here in this best of 9 between these two teams. The score is currently 3-2, still in the favor of Mouseports. But this is a best of 1 between these two players. Spawn here at the top left corner of the map. We've seen him a lot of times on this channel in the past. He is one of my favoritist, youngest German Terran players there are, the Red Terran Heromarine.
In the bottom right, as the blue Terran, it is Krass.
Alright, so Krass has put on a pretty good show so far. Like I said, I honestly, versus House Swabs, not to count Krass out, he's a good player. I can't build him up more than I have. But I thought he was going to go down to the Protoss. Now we come to TVT. This is a match I've seen him have some success with. Almost Dragon misspoke on that one. Success! Do like the winky eye thing, or the eyebrow thing, but... Yeah, no, Krass is... I think he's going to be pretty well suited for this matchup. That being said, Heromarine through EPS Germany, go for StarCrafts, Zotacs, and pretty much anything else he's been involved with, especially the Acer Team Story Cup. He's always put on a good show. He very rarely loses horribly, and when he does lose, it usually ends up being kind of just barely. And if we give him a side note, like a special props, guys, he hasn't been streaming as much as he used to, but he was streaming for a lot, and in English no less, for a long time. And he's really, really entertaining and very, very informative to watch. So I do hope he starts streaming again soon, but I imagine being as young as he is, he's got a lot of school to deal with.
Those youngins in their school.
Right? Man, I wish I was good at a video game, or that video games were cool to play when I was in school. I feel like such an old man, but like, in high school, I remember like, even when the N64 came out, that wasn't cool.
I never really thought about it that way, but I guess I didn't really talk about video games with anyone besides, you know, other nerds.
Right? You know, your 3 friends that you'd hang out around the locker with, because there's nobody else.
Okay, you know what? People always thought I watched an enormous amount of movies. Like, I would say, like, oh, like that, like in this movie, or I'd make like a reference to it, and they just look at me, and I'm like, really? And they're like, you watch too many movies. But I swear I don't. I really don't.
Do you watch a TV show called Suits?
No.
I wish you did. No, I'm asking about this because actually the relationship that these two guys have in this show is like them constantly referencing movies, and I was gonna say that could be like your awkward shtick that never existed.
Yeah.
Man, if anyone, by the way, just side note, if anyone else watches Suits, oh my god, that season freaking ender. Like, I'm so mad waiting for like the next season right now, and hopefully that it does come. But side note here, what Krass is doing is really cute. This is trying to wall off against this Reaper ledge. For those who don't know, over here on the left side, you can see it a little bit more easily. A Reaper can hop up and down this like on Yansu, but over on the right side of the map, it's not as easy to see. But for those who haven't seen it before, now you're aware. And these depots are not going to block a Reaper from getting up here. Not with just 2, but you can eventually wall this off. So it's like, boop, boop. Oh, I can't go anywhere. Turn around.
It'd only work if they were up, though.
Yeah, well, I don't know why he's left them lower. That's a bit awkward, but either way, he's not gonna have to worry about Reapers. But again, it's just like a small precautionary thing. I think is kind of cool because right now you're either worried about a Reaper coming in or Hellions, and that's kind of what Heromarine set up for at the front of his base. He doesn't want Hellions running by into his natural or something while he's exposed and out on the map, or oot because I'm Canadian. Either way, Stargates or not Stargates, Starports are finishing up here with those tech labs on the reactors. So we're gonna see Banshees. Well, actually, it might be Raven first. See who wants to play the defensive game.
Yeah, who's going to be the offensive person, who's going to be the defensive one. And we're going to have Heromarine go for the Raven, and Krass go for the Banshee.
Alright, so what I like about this, there's a lot of ways to play this out. Like, you know, some players will even go for Viking before Raven, but then you have to burn scans. What the Raven will allow you to do with a lot of Marines is chase that Banshee around. This is, again, something that has become so integrated into this matchup. Well, we've seen players actually starting to develop these strategies that are kind of counterintuitive to Banshees alone, and I'm not talking through Ravens, I'm talking through like Hellion Marine medevac pushes, things that are meant to catch your opponent off guard when they don't have a high amount of production. But between a Woodamai and randomly perhaps getting a hit off with the Raven and these Marines, Krass is going to find it very hard to get any damage done with his Banshee, even with that cloak.
Yeah, it's like, there aren't really hard counters in TVT. There's not really like build order wins, but this is kind of like the closest you'll get to it. Just the Banshee, the Cloak Banshee against the Raven openers you can see it do absolutely nothing, like literally. Sometimes they have really good control. The person with the Raven Viking is out of position once. They get enough to kind of make up for it, but sometimes it's just dead in the water.
It's funny you say that because I actually got a lot of flack from people for making fun of this. Ooh, actually, a little first blood moment. But in the last season of the Acer Team Story Cup, Innovation, this was when Banshees were changed, like right around that time period. And Innovation went Banshee first every game and never did anything with it. And I'm serious. Go watch like any VOD from Season 2, guys. He never got any damage done with it. And I was like, what's the insistence? Why do you persist on doing this? Because if it's not effective, don't keep trying it. But for the entire season, anytime it's TVT, he would win some games, granted. I'm not saying like the Banshee loss cost him the game, but you really didn't see it get too much effectively done. And same thing kind of goes right now, where Heromarine defends this pretty perfectly.
Yeah. And that was perfect. That is the type of, just smacking it down before it does anything that I was talking about. And while he's even getting another Banshee. The thing, if you go Banshee, you can do the follow-up push with the tank and some Marines, and it can be powerful. Even if they do have a Viking and Raven, like the Banshee can get enough shots off on a tank to let you push forward or whatnot, but he's not even doing that. He's just getting another Banshee that's going to be kind of throw away, honestly. 2 other Banshees after such a hard... I don't know.
Okay, so the Banshees aren't, I think, going to be used so much for getting around. I mean, there's one left over here that I think he'll try and swoop in with if Heromarine were to move out. Oh, I should swap these names around. Sorry, guys. But what's nice about it is, it can be good for getting positioning, trying to deal with tanks, trying to move in on a position that's otherwise fortified and unbreakable. Because a lot of the time, whether you're going mech or whether you're going bio, there's going to be open blind spots. But this makes no sense, going in again like that, like so early.
Yeah, this is what I was talking. That's what I was saying. If Krass had been doing that push, that tank push that you usually see, this Banshee getting this tank potentially is huge because the Vikings are away for just a second, but Krass isn't even pushing out. So I don't see the point of getting those other Banshees if they're just going to be easy to pick off with a couple of Vikings and a Raven. And now maybe they get the counterattack now because Heromarines the one pushing out. But I don't know.
I don't know. This is going to be a rough fight. The thing with Terran versus Terran, guys, that a lot of people don't understand is they look at it, and some people see it boring, some people see it as a chess match, but the reality is you don't need a lot to break an opponent. You just need positioning key above anything else. And one big thing for Heromarine right now is he's going to have air vision, which means his tanks, which have more range than they have vision, are actually going to be able to outreach crosses, technically, if performed correctly. I like coming from the backside like this, too, because as we see, Krass is preparing on the left, not on the right. But again, the big thing is he's going to be able to see where others cannot.
Yeah. This tank position also takes care of that gas geyser, should Krass have been, actually getting it.
Yeah, nice secret missile on the tank. Takes out one tank right away.
Yeah. Those Marines, really? They can't do anything with that tank cover. I mean, Heromarine can't, he's not going to bust up the ramp anytime soon, but you can abuse this position right here, kill some STVs. His Banshee, by the way, tried to go back in. Didn't do a whole lot. Almost died, actually. 0 kills. 0 worth.
I mean, again, this isn't like it was a bad choice out of Krass. Just Heromarine was way too fortified, and as we see, there's just no way for him to really. He can't break down the rocks. He can't charge through to Heromarine. He doesn't have any medevac, so he can't drop anything. And even if he did, 3 Vikings make sure that nothing's going to really move near these tanks. Most importantly, a Banshee of all.
Yeah.
Oh, the second siege tank's in range.
Yeah, he's trying to get air control right now. He had a Raven from earlier, and he was cranking out 2 Vikings at a time. And this can definitely happen.
Been awkward to watch that go down. I like the use of the point defense drone though. That was so smart. If he hadn't utilized that, then maybe he wouldn't have been able to win that air fight because he came in a little bit awkwardly one at a time, and it allows Heromarine to get that first volley off. But the point defense drone, guys, nullified all that damage. Really good hold here out of Krass. Because if that second siege tank had gotten up and actually killed this siege tank, that would have been the snowball effect that really puts Heromarine kind of out of control.
Well, if he hadn't thought about getting air control, if he had only focused on getting more tanks or more production or a 3rd command center or something like that, that stays there for a lot longer. Now, by getting the air control, he's kind of initiated the who has more Vikings, and whoever stops making Vikings potentially opens themselves up to losing that air battle. They become, even if they're not both going mech, and they both aren't, they're both going for bio, like this air war can get kind of silly.
Oh, wow. While this is going on, I would give a really big double shout out. Ria Mar in chat donated $20, not just to me, which is really cool, and thank you so much to you, but also towards the show match fundraising fund. So maybe we're gonna make that journey match happen a lot sooner than anticipated.
Yeah.
But no, thank you very much, Ria Mar. I know he was also very generous during the Starbow show match series as well, where he checked in another couple of bucks for the very last match of Innovation versus France. So big shout outs to you, man. Thank you so much. Anyways, as far as the air battle goes, Krass has got a very definitive lead. You can have a lot of Marines on the ground and that's fine, but the Vikings, unless misclicked, are never going to fly over those.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, unless misclicked. A very late stim. Pretty usual in TBT to see like 60-minute stim and stuff. It just happens with the way that the openers go along, but it really is quite even.
I think these guys too are a little tentative on going bio versus mech. I mean, the barracks have all just come down within the same recent time, guys. It's not like he built like 11 barracks and wasn't doing anything with the reactors for like a long time, or the tech labs. But yeah, confirm that they are going to stick to this means that, you know, now we see the investments come in. It's going to be that slower start. We'll see third bases eventually come up. But what's kind of interesting about TBT is, especially with bio involved, it's often has where either both players stick on 2 bases or both players are going to take every base on the map.
Oh, Krass is trying to return the favor, going into the back rocks. Gonna throw
so many more siege tanks for Heromarine though.
Yeah, it's actually a big enough army that he could take this on as long as he got a decent concave.
I like these auto turrets. This will kind of slow down the push. If Krass had something coming in from behind to pinch for Heromarine, that would probably be the most fantastic way to engage this. But air dominance aside, doesn't matter because none of these Vikings shoot down.
Krass has the same supply, but it's all in its SCVs. I mean, Heromarine's going to absolutely crush this.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The army supply is just way too big. Too many tanks. He does lift off to the main, but this isn't even a full benefit. In fact, there's an SCV. What? What are you doing here?
A spy. He's going to infiltrate the command center like Command & Conquer.
Blood for the blood god. All right, well, this drop gets cleaned up pretty decisively. And Heromarine still got a big force on the other side of the map. Krass... Yeah. You know, going for this third base wasn't a bad idea, but this is a huge liability because now he has to not only defend his natural, but also this third. And while the siege tanks cover one side, they don't cover the other.
Yeah, that is the problem with this map. Is exactly this. You can only cover one side on the map.
Well, tank's actually doing a ton of damage. Heromarine almost lost all of his Marines just there.
Yeah, that was a little too forward, but he still has a really great opportunity here. He's coming in with more and more reinforcements. He has that third up and running that is not going to be pressured as opposed to Krass's third, which is definitely going to be pressured.
Yeah, this is not looking too good for Krass. On the ropes for sure. Heromarines army supply is just starting to overwhelm, and you can't, even if you've got a big army supply, you can't move into siege tank lines, but Krass doesn't really have siege tank lines. He's got like siege tanks. So.
This is actually not going well at all.
No, the Marines actually pushed us back. There's no buffer for the siege tanks. They were unsieged. I mean, the idea of an unsieged siege tank is it's got a lot of single target DPS, so you can push into a siege tank, but not against this many Marines. The buffer for Krass, make no mistake, is what held that fight for him. Those Marines, man.
Yeah, I think a little overeager from Heromarine. Definitely, lost that, really powerful control that he had. It's not like it's game over, but he is, down in SCVs, and he's also now down in army. Well, not quite, but almost. What were the upgrades out? Oh, the upgrades are 1-1-1. All right.
Yeah, 1-1 for each. Now, disengaging off of this, Heromarine, I mean, what I really don't like was his choice to go for the army fight there, I think. This base was so exposed. It wasn't covered by the tanks. This, ironically enough, the refinery is going to burn down. By the way, does anyone think if a refinery or were to burn down, shouldn't like a nuclear explosion basically go off? Like, there's a ton of SV gas in there. You don't know how volatile that stuff is.
I definitely agree, though. I think going for the army fight above just making him lift the third, not the best choice. In hindsight, he would probably say so as well. He's trying to find a good position again. Like you can win a game just with getting a really good Doom drop.
Well, not even a Doom drop. He could just siege on the low ground and then bring everything else up.
I mean, this is going to be the problem with like stuff like this is that eventually it will be cleaned up. This is not an end-all, be-all type of situation. Yep. And even he's already taking down a lot of the tanks just with this.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a production, which is like the #1 thing for all Terran players. But when you said I agree, I was kind of hoping it was about the Vespene guys are exploding.
Oh, no, sorry.
No, I like the lift off of the command center, though. He's got to recognize the base has been compromised, but the scary thing is he can't yield his production. He has to keep producing. Now he does move in here with a ton of Marines and Heromarines. His own Marines are actually trying to get involved with the fight, but because of the pathing in the AI, they go around the long way. Now he's trying to capitalize on this. Yeah, now he brings the Medevacs over, so this changes and becomes a big force of an attack.
Yeah, that was That was surprisingly sloppy, and I don't think it was Krass's fault, but rather the AI's fault of his units. I thought he was going to crush that a lot better than he was, but actually trades out kind of evenly when all is said is done. Heromarine is pushed back again, but he lost a lot of tanks, and his production on them has been slowing down significantly.
Yeah, he did have the huge tank lead at the start of this game, but when it comes down to Marines versus Marines, those level 2 upgrades that have been started for Krass are going to start raining through pretty big. A lot of matchups you can kind of scoff at upgrades. You're like, oh, you know, Roach versus Roach, 2-1 versus 2-2. Ew, look at that difference. But it's not that big of a deal. But for Marines, which have such a high rate of fire, weapon damage is everything.
Heromarine, I guess he had that such a high tank lead with only 1 factory. I'm really surprised. Usually you see 2 really, really fast, especially if they're going to be tank heavy.
You got to consider
just now putting it down.
A lot of the tank lead in the early game came from Krass going for those Banshees. I mean, there's a lot of gas you got to sink in, plus cloak.
Well, you still got to get the Vikings and the Raven. I don't know if that was the case.
But I mean, like every Banshee made, it's like 1 less tank. It's kind of the idea. So like he lost 3 Banshees. Heromarine had the advantage of 3 tanks. Kind of makes sense.
Sure. Well, anyways, he took a long time to get that second factory up, so now he's kind of paying for it in the low tank count.
Wait, dude, neither player has Vikings anymore. Just a fun side note. They managed to completely yield both air supplies, but with the main being abandoned, he's actually just trying to expand. I thought this was a misclick at first when he never re-landed it, because, you know, sometimes what happens is if you got all your command centers in the control group, you try and drop a mule, the command center will fly towards it type thing. Or like re-rally, but no, he's actually just gonna try and reclaim this new base, which I can totally get behind, because Heromarine mined out in his own main.
It is. I don't think if he wasn't forced to lift it, I don't think he does this.
No,
so
definitely not. Like, he's just like making the best of a bad situation, but it's gonna actually end up working out pretty well for him.
Ooh, big drop. This is gonna be really good. There is a sensor tower though, so he's gonna be well aware. Oh, and he even.
I don't know. He scans the tail end of like 1 medevac. That doesn't look too fishy. But Krass has also loaded up a lot of his medevacs, so he's ready to respond. He's not going to be late to the party, but there's not going to be siege tanks. Well, actually, him the natural.
This is not going to go well for Heromarine. No, Krass knows this is coming.
Yeah, Heromarine, I think just should swan dive for the main, take out the production.
Yeah, I think the main would be so much better. This fight in the natural is not going to.
Krass.
Well, it's not going to do as much damage as he thought it would.
Krass is seconds away from that weapon upgrade advantage too. This would have been so much more one-sided, but the thing is he's filtering in these awkward spots where the Marines can't all fight at the same time. So even though he had that massive number, Heromarine still makes this fight work out pretty good for him. Forced to back away though, loses this fight and disengages.
Oh, if he dropped on top of those siege tanks at the 4th, if he only knew those were over there.
Oh yeah, completely unguarded.
Too bad, but again, evening up. Like I swear, Heromarine is making the wronger decisions, but he's always trying, like, barely making it out alive and even.
Well, he's making these weird decisions, but he does enough damage with each of these fights. So it's not like, instead of being game ending, it's just like battle winning. But this one, he certainly loses in the middle of the map. Moving into sieged tanks is never a fun thing to do as a Terran player. Again, I want to remind you all, Krass has a vastly superior economy because he's got a fresh 4th, well, 3rd technically, as it's the only 3rd base mining.
Heromarine.
I think he's going to lose to his economy before he loses to the army.
He needs to get on top of that. The thing about TBT is that one really good engagement, one really good Doom drop, which he was trying to do, will definitely bring you up again, like, significantly. In fact, he can win you games, a really good Doom drop. Really can. That's why the Sensor Tower is so key for Krass.
Well, Heromarine keeps moving into siege lines. He can now siege himself and try and get a good hit or two off of these Marines. 1 tank remains. And, you know, with Bio, Marine tank is so common. I'm just flabbergasted we haven't seen a single Marauder. Like, can you imagine the difference 3 Marauders makes to either of these players' composition storming into these siege lines?
It's an interesting tactic. Usually, if they're only producing off of 2 factory, well, this drop's even going to do a lot of damage. This is really good for Heromarine. But unless they're only like off of like 3 factories, generally putting Marauders into your mix is not worth it. I would say, like, you have to be really tank heavy. Like Halt, I would say, is something to get Marauders.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, both of these players have been fighting against the opponent, and they've been trading out who's tank heavy, you know. But Heromarine gets on top of the production, compromises this. If this goes to a base trade, I don't know that Krass can necessarily win because he starts late. But at the same time, Heromarine got some decent defense at home. However, not sieged up at time. He will focus fire down the siege tanks, though. Oh, Krass is going to lose all the siege tanks.
Yeah, that was a really nice spread. That was a really great reaction by Heromarine, and now finally, this dedication to trying to get on the right side is finally working out, and especially, I feel, you know, abusing the fact that that left 3rd base has never been abused, finally using that has really brought Heromarine back in. Now he's actually taking control of the natural. He's not quite on the production, but it's pretty much, you know, you're not going down a ramp against tanks.
Every base right now has something going on. The main gets cleaned up, the natural gets cleaned up, but the 3rd base was gutted while this goes on. The 4th base gets gutted. Currently, these Marines, GG is going to be called, ladies and gentlemen. Heromarine will take the game. That was like just almost beautiful. That was like art at the end is what that was.